Good. So right at this moment, we can look at the concept of nested tuples, right? Now, this is the very first time we are going to look at nesting in itself in this course. You understand? So nesting simply means something can have another thing inside of it. Now, I know your minds are dirty, but let's bring it back home. So nesting in the context of tuple, it simply means that tuples can contain other tuples. You understand? Let me zoom in. It simply means that tuples can contain other tuples, you see. So let's put that in practice. So right away, let's try to create a tuple right now. Let's give it a name. And you know, I always like using my name in things like this. And then I'll just add another tuple, right? Now this goes back to our definition that a tuple can have another tuple inside it, thereby being nested. So we're about to nest another tuple in here. Now let's think of some scores. Let's go for an 85, an 88, and then let's see an 89. It's too close, but makes sense, makes sense. That's all good. Now let's think about who would have parameters like this. So we have name, and then we have scores over here. Let's just call it a student. So we can say student is equal to this whole tuple. So the whole bigger thing itself is a tuple, but inside of the bigger tuple, we still have this smaller tuple over here. Good. Now we are going to prove that in a minute. So I'm going to print our students as position 1. Good. Now from all the studies we have been doing, we could testify that this is going to give us this. So this whole thing is position 1. You understand? Yes. So this should ideally just give us the scores in a tuple. So I'm going to print. Good. And then we can see at the very bottom over here that we have the scores over here. That makes the entirety of our position 1 in our student variable. So now let's come down a notch again. And now we are going to try to be printing inside of our second position. Good. So now I'm going to make the first square bracket. Now this is what we want to do. We want to go 1 again to tell us that it is the second position being all of this, right? Now after we have done that, we want to make another square bracket, which means that okay, we are at the second position, but now we want to dig inside of the tuple over there too again, if that makes any sense. Let's see it in practice. So inside of here, let's say I want to return this 88. That's also position 2 of this. So 0 and then 1. Now I'm going to put 1 and then I'm going to run. And then we can see we have 88 over here. So we have been able to return 88 like this. Now let's just confirm. Let me do 0. That's first position over here. So give us 85. I'm going to run and we have our 85. And then finally again, let's do our 2. I'm going to run and it gives us 89 like that. Very beautiful. Very beautiful. Good. Now let's unpack. Now let's look at unpacking. How do we unpack nested tuples? Let's actually do all of this in one go, right? Good. So to unpack this tuple over here, right? We simply need to look at the parameters. Now this could be anything, but based off the example I'm giving, right? You could see that Daniel is a name, and then out of these scores, we can categorize them by subjects. So now I'm going to open the brackets. Now I'm opening the brackets because we have to follow the structure of this main tuple. We have to follow the structure, otherwise the unpacking is not going to work. You understand? So I can say math, English, and science. Those are like the top 3 subjects you have, and then we are going to send it to student. Mind you, student is all of this. Student contains all of this data. So student has in all of this data, right? Good. But let's do some confirmations. So I'm going to print. Good. Now when I print name, I should be having Daniel over here. And you can see I have Daniel. Yes, you can see I have Daniel over here. I'm still returning the other numbers we had first. Let me just comment. Let me comment these out. Let me comment these out. Good. And let's run again. Yes, you can see we have Daniel over here because I'm printing the name. Now let's pick any of these subjects as random, and then let's say science. We run and 89. Now we'll see that 89 is actually the last position of this tuple and also the last thing we did. So yes, we match them. That's why you have to match them. You understand? Yes. And now you want to unpack because maybe you don't want to do all of these that we're doing over here. This very long procedure we're doing over here. Maybe you don't want to do it. So if you unpack this like this, whatever you want, you don't have to now go position one and then position two. You don't have to do all this when you just unpack. Now, one last confirmation. Let's check our math and then I'm going to run this. So we have 85. Yes. So that's nested tuples in Python.